Hello everybody, Tommy Ruin here, and today I am going to be discussing a topic which has honestly really surprised me, as it has been such a sudden change. Now, as many of you are probably aware, the population on the Ascension seasonal servers has declined considerably over the last week. It has been a noticeable drop, and I'm sure many of you will agree that it's so much harder to do things like faction leaders and dungeons and raids at this point in time. And in this video I am going to discuss why this drop has occurred and what I think Ascension should do to try and retain the player base they have, as well as claw back some of the players which may have left. So, as many of you have noticed, player numbers are down. Why is this?
Why?
Well, first and foremost, and what I think the main reason for the decline is that World of Warcraft Retail released patch 8.2 last week. Now, many people who joined Ascension in Season 3 are those who are bored or frustrated with the current game and wanted a break. Patch 8.2 supposedly fixes a lot of problems with the retail game, changing things like Azerite armor and finally adding flying to BFA. Now, I have no idea if those things are actually fixed, what 8.2 is all about, because I don't play on retail anymore, but that is what I've heard. So I imagine this will have gained a lot of interest from the portion of the player base that are playing on Ascension due to a lack of content in the modern game. BFA now has new stuff to do, and the people who are playing Ascension to fill that hole for them will most likely leave until they get bored on retail again. I imagine due to the large surge in popularity on Ascension for Season 3 and the length of time there was a content drought on retail, there is a large proportion of the player base that fits this category, that Ascension was just a stopgap until 8.2 came out. Now, another reason I believe that Season 3 has decreased in population is the build-up to WoW Classic, which launches on the 27th of August in 2019. Now, the beta kicked off in May, on the 15th of May, and gained massive attention on Twitch and YouTube. And I personally noticed a big downturn in interest in Ascension through my YouTube analytics. This reduced interest in Ascension definitely hurt the population, with people more interested in Classic experiences rather than Classless, now that Classic is on the horizon. Many of the people who have quit that I've spoken to have stated that they are getting ready for Classic and they don't want to burn out before the grind starts. Now, this is completely fair enough, and again, many of these people waiting for Classic will have joined in Season 3 as a stopgap before Classic launches. Now it is very close, many people will be taking a break or preparing for the launch of that game. Now, another reason the server has suffered in terms of population is the slow content release. For what was supposed to be a fast season, it has already been going from March to July, and I can't blame the devs due to the massive surge of popularity that they had at the beginning of the season. A lot of these people would have been new to Ascension and they wanted to give players the time to adjust and get used to the systems. But it has already been going from March to July, and we have only had 3 raids out in that period of time. Now, you can class Zul'Gurub and Onyxia's Lair as raids, but realistically, they are more filler content for the real raid tiers, which are Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, AQ, and Nax. So, to only have 3 raids out in that time period on a server where you can gear up to best in slot outside of the raid is a snail's pace. People were one-phasing Ragnaros the day it launched, showing how little of a challenge it was. Of course, people are going to be bored and leave because of this, especially if the raid tier lasts for just under a month. Like I said, you don't need months to farm out your best in slot gear here. You can get it without even setting foot in the raid, so the content becomes far less repeatable as you don't have that incentive to go in and raid to get your items. A lot of players are fully decked out and have been for weeks, with no incentive to play as there is nothing challenging left to do in the game that will help increase their power. Those are the reasons that I believe people have left in Season 3. What do I think Ascension should do to try and stabilise the population and maybe even grow the population again? So firstly, the content release timeline. Things need to be much faster and responsive to how long it takes guilds to farm raids. If a guild has Blackwing Lair on farm on the first day, then in 2 weeks I believe the AQ effort or just the raid itself should be released. This would mean that there are new challenges after raiding for 2 resets and will keep content hot and fresh. The season was meant to be a short one before Naxxramas released on legacy servers, and it would help speed up the launch of that, as well as keeping players interested in the seasonal servers. If new raids are released, there is more to grind, more to do, and more reasons to stay playing Ascension. Okay, secondly, I believe that to maintain players' interest in Ascension, they need to add in some more incentives to play. Season 3 is a wildcard server with all of your abilities chosen at random. You can get reroll scrolls that allow you to choose an ability you got randomly that you don't like and reroll it into another random ability. Currently, every week you can get 2 reroll scrolls if you do 16 dailies that week, as the dailies give tokens which you can turn into the scrolls. You get roughly 5 dailies a day, with some weekly quests also being available to complete, meaning that many people who do all their dailies and weekly quests will have a load of excess tokens which they can't do anything with. I think to maintain interest in the wildcard mode, they should change the quest to get the reroll scrolls to a repeatable quest, so that players can play as much as they want and not be limited to a set number of rerolls per week. This means that if you want to grind out more rerolls that week, then you can do. Now, there will of course be a cap based on the number of daily quests available in that week, but it would mean people play for longer, as they will have more of an incentive to do more daily quests each day. I pick and choose which ones I will take to do based on the ones that will take the least time to get a minimum of 16 reroll scrolls on my characters. Now, if the quest was repeatable, then I'd probably do all of the daily quests, which means I spend more of my time in the world, so I can maximize the number of reroll scrolls I will get for that week. Now, I know that this is quite a controversial idea, as it goes against the idea of a wildcard server. However, the rolls you get are still random. There is a chance you'll get an awful ability, and this will allow for people who have awful builds, who don't want to start a new character, to redeem their broken characters into something more usable, as more than likely those players will just end up quitting. These reroll scrolls are already in the game, so I believe just use them more and allow players to get more of them per week. Now, secondly, just a small thing, there currently is no updated cosmetic rewards for the season that there weren't there in Season 2. The cosmetic rewards are exactly the same, including the mount, the pet, and the transmog sets. I believe that they should add in some new cosmetics that people will want to farm out, rather than just the same old stuff which they got in Season 2. It was a massive turn off for me to see that I could only get the same things that I got last season, that most of them I didn't want anyway. So to get the same things and have no reason to grind out those seasonal points is a bit of a waste, and they should definitely add in the cosmetics that they have in the collection tab, which are currently unused. It can't take much effort to rip some files from the retail game, like a tier set, and put them in the client, seeing as they've done that so many times before. So I think adding in new incentives to do your seasonal grind and get the transmog sets are definitely something that will bring people back to the game. Now, just a quick side note, if anyone is quitting and doesn't want their stuff anymore, remember my mailbox is always open. That's Tommy Ruin on a Loon, folks. Tommy Ruin on a Loon.
Time is money, friend.
So those are my thoughts on the current state of Ascension Season 3 population. I'm still having a blast, and I'm sure there are still other people out there, but let me know what you think the reason for the decline is down in the comments, and also let me know what you would do to fix the decrease in population. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon to be notified when I go live. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you all very soon.
Is it you? Is it me?